Right, so let's try this again with Let's Talk Red Episode 1. This was meant to be out before the latest patch, but the patch came out before the video, so I've scrapped a whole 4,000 word video and made this one instead. Instead of looking at the patch itself, I want to talk about how the patch feels and the strengths and weaknesses of some of the heroes, items, and changes within it, to see if the community feels the same and to see what people's opinions are. But before getting into it, remember that my socials and Discord will be in the pinned comment and the description. To start with, let's talk about hero balance. I feel right now things are fairly tightly balanced for the majority of the roster. There are only 2 heroes that stand out to me personally as either strong or weak. The strongest in my opinion is Steel, and let me explain why. Not only is he naturally tanky due to his scaling, but he also has his passive which allows him to get a shield every time he hits an enemy with CC. Which, considering that the majority of his kit applies CC, means that he can sustain himself in fights if he plays it smart. But on top of this, you can build full tank and still do pretty serious damage due to the passives on some of the tank items. And I believe in the future his alternate ability, Shield Bash, will probably get either a nerf to its base damage or the percentage amount of health it takes off. That might not be the way that they choose to nerf him, I'm just taking a guess. But I do feel like another Steel nerf will be coming down the track eventually. Purely as he seems to be able to do it all. He can tank, he can deal damage, and he can also hard CC targets potentially 3 times in short succession, which can completely control a fight. Let me know if you agree with my thoughts on Steel in the comments, as I'm sure everyone has varying opinions. I just think he's sleeper OP, especially in the off lane. But moving on now to who I think is the weakest. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's Muriel. As a support, I believe right now she is the weakest support for play potential. I'm not saying she can't be good, but the way I look at it is if I wanted to play a support, I'd personally want to be able to directly influence fights and set my carry up for the kills. With Muriel, currently I see multiple better options for that. I can play Richter for multiple hard CCs and a long range pull. I could play Decker for a potential 3 stuns and a slow, as well as a cage, whereas Muriel is sort of limited. Yes, she can shield, she can do damage, and buff damage to a degree, but she only has 1 slow and a knockup on her ultimate, and the knockup on her ultimate most people will see coming and just move away or blink if they are the carry. So I just don't really see her as worth the pick unless you add duo with the carry, and even then there are other higher potential playmaking supports that work better in my opinion. I am unsure exactly how to improve her, as you don't really want to change the scaling too much, as attack speed Muriel in solo lane is already pretty scary when done right. But maybe if they increase the duration of her 2 non-ultimate shielding abilities, it would allow the team a little more time to use her passive. Which, if you didn't know, any ally affected by Muriel's abilities also gain her passive, meaning they gain on-hit magic damage. It would allow her to still be a support, and it would allow her to let her team make plays with this passive, rather than potentially making her too good at defense and offense if you change her scaling. It wouldn't have to be anything crazy, even just bumping her alacrity and consecrated ground by 0.25 seconds and see how she feels after that would be interesting. I just feel like right now she's in a bad spot when there are other very strong support options in the game right now. Let me know what you think of Muriel also in the comments. In terms of how the patch feels, I'd say it's pretty hard now to say anything is truly overtuned, because the main Trouble Children and items got nerfed. Plus they did buff all anti-heal items, so all that sustain on Crunch, Kai, Rampage etc. is getting much more effectively countered, which if you don't build anti-heal aka blight items for those heroes, you should. And to be honest, in 90% of your games you should be getting 1 blight item, especially as currently almost every game will have a countess in it, as well as other heroes that have some form of healing. But the point being is that right now I'd say that most heroes are viable as far as I can tell, and there are now more effective ways to counter trouble heroes. I'm still unsure about Feng however, as he's been disabled for a little bit due to a bug with his shield, but I'll have to get back to you on him when he's fixed. The jungle was one of the other big changes in my opinion. Fangtooth is now a bit of a risk for junglers to do solo other than Chimera with the buffs they gave to it. I've seen quite a dip in the amount of people doing Fangtooth on spawn and very rarely see people attempt it that way in my games. I think it's definitely got more of a risk factor, and warding it has led to quite a few collapses on people attempting it, as it's not a quick kill anymore early game. I've not noticed any real increase as of yet, however, with people taking mini prime. I think people are still scared to try it due to the damage it used to deal. Maybe once people get used to the patch a bit more, it will get taken and contested more, but I guess we will have to wait and see. Though if your games have been any different than mine and people have been doing Fang more or less, or Orb Prime more or less, let me know. This is the first episode of Let's Talk Pred, and I'm going to ask now what direction it should move in next. When thinking of what to do for these videos, I'm curious what topics people are actually interested in. Should it be more looking at patches and the information in those? Talking about builds and or hero playstyles? Or maybe talking similar to this one as to who's strong and who's weak, and how the previous patch has affected the gameplay. Do let me know in the comments. It's a hard video to make as I can only really go based off what I would want, not what you would want, so I'm trying to walk a very fine line. But with that, I will end the first episode here, and I will see you for the next video.